Welcome to Academy Live. Today, we are so excited to bring on Jaime Gonzalez to tell us all about the top 5 cyber insurance must haves. Jaime is the head of client partnership at Odmo Cyber. They specialize in cyber GRC and InfoSec managed services. He has more than 20 years of experience in the insurance industry, and he's very passionate about helping MSPs strengthen their business insurance. But before we get into all that juicy topic, I want to start by sharing some really good news with you, and it's about podcasts. So let's take a look.
We've got a fantastic episode lined up for you today.
Keith, what are you doing in here?
Pax8 has podcasts now. We're in the big leagues.
Really? Tell me more.
Well, now you can check us out wherever you get your podcast. Keep an eye out for all the great content from our YouTube channel, like the Result Selling Framework podcast. But now, on the go, we'll be chatting with the experts about MSP growth, cybersecurity, AI, and modern work. Thoughts?
Not bad. I still think AI can do it better.
Well, AI doesn't have my charm or my fastball.
Hey, fine. I'll let you get back to recording.
Okay.
Now, I'm really excited to listen to all of our favorite episodes on podcasts and being on the go, listening to my podcast. So, if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you check it out. And we have one more video before we welcome on Jaime to the show. So, let's take a look at sales pitch. So, let's check it out.
Professional baseball players, their job is to play baseball, to be the best that they can be, put up great stats so that they can help the team win and that they can get that big payday, that big contract. They focus on skills they need in order to achieve all those things. They practice a lot. They focus on doing the right things, again, to help their team win and to get paid. Selling IT services. Are you focused on the right things? Are we running around doing things that are not getting results? Or are we laser focused on what business will close, resulting in helping our company grow and helping us get paid? Let's touch all the bases on what the best salespeople do, and that is focus. 1, quality over quantity. Stop doing activities to get us in front of everybody. You only get paid on the opportunities you close. So focus on having conversations with your ideal client or target prospect and the opportunities that will close. 2, use judgment. Look at the opportunities that you've closed in the past. What are the traits of those opportunities? Where did they come from? How did the prospect participate with you during the sales process? Use judgment on what opportunities to focus on and learn from your success to rinse and repeat. 3, time management. Hyper focus on the most important opportunities, the closable, winnable opportunities. People in your target market that are ready to buy. 4, fish where the fish are. Are you having conversations with your ideal client, your target industry, your target vertical? Do these people know you? Are you being curious about getting to know them and their business? Do you know how they make money? Where they get business from, who refers it to them, and what a good referral is for them, so that way you can provide them to them. So if you want to help your company win the game and get yourself that payday, the best salespeople aren't running around and doing a bunch of activity. They consistently analyze what has worked for them in the past to get new business and perfect becoming better at it. Anybody can be busy, but only a few people can sell.
Hi, Jaime. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you.
Now, you and Rex go back a little bit, right, Rex? How do you know
We
Jaime?
do.
I think it was 2023, early in the year. I was thinking about how Pax8 has a lot of partners that are what we call solopreneurs, and I was trying to put together this idea I had to have like a prescriptive peer group, kind of a $0 to $1 million services company peer group. And the idea would be that nobody would have any employees when they started, and then we would start in the peer group and start building our business plan and building our business, and eventually add employees, and we could have sort of a guided process. And it was 2023 at Beyond that I was talking to Jaime and kind of pitched my idea to him. And I tell you, he would not leave me alone. I don't know that I would have taken the action that I took to actually get it started if it wasn't for Jaime. So, Jaime, thank you for your constant pressure to get it started and being in that inaugural Phoenix peer group.
Thank you, Rex. I mean, it's such a pleasure to be your friend and to be on your show.
Well, I know you have a lot of content for us, but first off is a bit of a disclaimer. So let's take a look at that. And if you could just start us off with our topic, we'd love that.
All right, absolutely. So, quick disclaimer: this presentation is intended for general informational purposes only. Does not constitute individual insurance advice or solicitation to buy or sell any insurance product. So, Bessie already brought up some of my background. I won't repeat it, but I wanted to also share that I'm one of the owners of an insurance brokerage as well, a cyber insurance broker, and we have nationwide access. So in this presentation, I want to make a couple assumptions. Number one, that you own or operate an MSP. That's number one. Number two, that you want to avoid overspending on cyber insurance. And my meaning of that is you want to aim to have the right quality at the right amount of coverage for the most competitive premium, and also factor in for added value services. So that is basically the color of what I'm going to talk about today. So we have five must knows for cyber insurance. Number one, cyber insurance is a different animal. Definitely do not bring any assumptions to cyber insurance. If you've bought any other type of business insurance in the past, it's its own animal. There are very few, in my opinion, there are few experts in cyber insurance in the retail side. By retail, I mean retail brokers that can help you shop the entire market. And it's constantly evolving. This is a product that's one of the newest insurance products in the market, and it's always evolving and changing because breaches and cyber events are changing by the day. So it's a product that's constantly evolving, and the rules are changing all the time. You'll hear people in the industry call it a soft market, a hard market. That just means that premiums are on the up or they're going down. So it has cycles, and it's not like other types of insurance. So it's really good for you to have a partner or friend that can help you figure out if you're overpaying or if you're underpaying, or did you get a renewal and it's really high, and what's going on here. So to help you get a very good look at that, just have a good person to guide you. There's only a couple decades of actuarial data, and that makes it hard for insurance carriers to price their products. Think about homeowners insurance that's been around for more than 100 years, and they have very good assumptions as to how many claims they'll get in a particular year. That's why, with the exception of Los Angeles, where I live, rates can, for the most part, stay stable. Not with cyber. You had a question, Rex.
Yeah, I just was, I think a lot of our partners have general liability insurance, and some of them have some form of professional liability, errors and omissions. Um, what what's not covered by that you would need to get a cyber liability, add-on or rider or separate policy, or
Yeah.
how's that all work?
Yeah, so let's make a difference between cyber insurance and cyber liability. When you say cyber liability, that means what we call in the insurance industry third party risk. So basically, those are protections to third parties, which would be your clients, for example, maybe even your vendors. So liability is something that doesn't involve you. So when I say cyber insurance, I include third party and also first party. first party is your business. So if you have a breach and you have a ransomware attack, a third party liability policy would not cover you because that is damage that happened to your own business. So that would include most cyber insurance policies today will include first party and third party. The second party being the insurance carrier.
Thank
And
you.
and a lot of the business owners that have general liability sometimes may think that this is covered, but it's not. It's a whole different set of risks, and the insurance carrier needs to price that in. And you can get, however, if you want to bundle it up, you can have your cyber. You can ask your broker, your cyber insurance broker, to see if they can bring in maybe buy a cyber insurance policy where you can add an endorsement for general liability. General liability is frankly less risky for the carriers, so they love to sell that all day long. But cyber is a risk that's much harder to price. And if you look historically at the applications, 5 years ago even, the cyber applications were half a page or 1 page. Now they're 10 pages because they really want to drill down to your operations, your revenue. They want to see how close they can get to the actual risk involved. And premium is tied to risk, 100%. Well, not 100%, but it's the biggest factor in a premium is the level of risk, whether you're a risky vertical or not so much.
Awesome.
So we'll get into the must-know number 2. Know who you're talking to. And I get this all the time. This is so common. Sometimes you'll meet an insurance expert at a trade show, at a conference, at an event. But it's really important to know that cyber insurance has a huge distribution ecosystem. And there's many, many layers. And the insurance carriers are delegating and they're outsourcing a lot of the different parts of marketing, sales, even policy design and pricing. So you have below the insurance carriers, you have MGAs, MGUs. They're different layers, but a lot of times they'll market directly to end users, to the business owners. And it's really important that you know who you're talking to, because are you talking to basically an extension of the carrier? Or is this rep going to show you only a small number of carriers, maybe 3 or 4, or will they be able to show you 50 or more? So it really depends on what state you are. It depends what insurance carriers are wanting to insure cyber in your state, but also who you're talking to. Is this a person that works directly for a carrier? So all those variables are very important. Is this a cyber wholesaler? Is this a cyber retail broker? You do want to talk to a retail broker, preferably if you have one around. Like I said, there's not a lot of experts in cyber insurance that are retail level. So you will find that business owners end up talking to different parts of those layers. But if you do have one and you know one, we're happy to help you, of course. You do want to talk to a retail broker because they'll be able to show you the largest amount of carriers available, because they can work with multiple wholesalers technically. And the other important part about working with an expert is that they will because insurance is there's so many products, it's really hard for a generalist, for a general commercial insurance person to know every line very deeply. So I recommend that you work with someone that understands cyber, because you're going to be able to get the best explanation as to all the legal language, because a policy, all it is a contract between you and the insurer. And there's a lot of legal language in there that you may not understand if you're not a lawyer. So the broker, the retail broker, will be able to explain that insurance lingo, the liability terms, and all these subjects. But you also, as an MSP, you don't have to dumb down all your knowledge, all your cybersecurity controls, and everything that you do, and maybe your whole stack. And you do want to talk with the person that is experienced in cyber, so you can have that communication. They can translate for you, but they can also understand your pain points. That brings us to must-know number 3. Ask about financial strength ratings. This is so important because at the end of the day, the policy you have is only as valuable as the insurer that's backing that policy. The insurer, they go by many different names, but the insurer is the one listed in your certificate of insurance. And that will be the company that if a breach happens or if there's something massive that you need to take care of, they will be paying, they will be cutting the check. So the buck stops with them. And it's really important that you know at least their name, because a lot of business owners, they get confused with the different layers. There's a lot of marketing layers in cyber insurance, and they may not know the name of the responsible party. These are called risk-bearing entities. So they may not know the name of the risk-bearing entity. It could have a very random name that you've never heard, but it's important because if you have the name of the insurer, you can go into a ratings agency like AM Best, which is the one I go to, and you can look up their financial ratings. And I recommend don't go so A or above. Anything over A is a good rating for AM Best. And if you don't have a policy yet, just make sure to have your broker give you the different AM Best ratings for the carriers that they're shopping for you. That way you know that you're comparing apples to apples. And because the MSPs typically they don't have direct access to the carrier. Like, for example, one of a risk-bearing entity group that's very large is Berkshire Hathaway. So if you have a policy that owns an insurer, that owns the agency that sold you that cyber policy, it's not like you're going to call a Berkshire Hathaway and get support from them. So you might not know the name of that entity that's owned by Berkshire Hathaway, but that's the one you're going to be in that example. You're going to be looking up their rating. So must know number 4: ask about important exclusions. This was so important because as we talked about before, the risk is what really determines the premium of your policy. And if a carrier or if an insurer wants to bring down risk, what they do is they add exclusions. And exclusions are not necessarily bad. Some of them are required by the state. Insurance is regulated at the state level. So some exclusions have to be there on your policy by law of the state. But exclusions may be added in order to lower the premium. So just make sure you're comfortable with the exclusions that are in there. I'll give you an example. If you notice that your policy, after speaking with your brokerage, you notice that there is a social engineering exclusion. If your cyber insurance agent is recommending a policy with social engineering excluded, that means they probably don't know much about cyber, because that is statistically the most likely way for a breach to happen. So that includes phishing. And how could you have a policy where the highest probability of you ever needing it is something that is excluded? So definitely make sure none of the exclusions on that policy are deal breakers or red flags, and just run it through your broker. I think that in certain scenarios, a company may be willing to get some exclusions for the sake of getting a better rate. So that takes us to must know number 5. Ensure your clients have a path to procure cyber insurance. And this is so important for the MSP, because you may have not had this conversation with your clients, most likely not. But if you have not talked about cyber insurance with them, they're implicitly relying on you for breach response and everything that comes with that. And maybe your MSA or your contracts have some language in there, but that still doesn't stop a person from accusing an MSP of being not accusing, but just holding them liable for everything that happens after a breach. So cyber insurance, if your clients have cyber insurance, that really helps you sleep at night, because you know that if a breach were to happen, they can hire breach attorneys, they can hire incident response teams, forensic analysis, PR management, even ransomware negotiators. And that's something you definitely want to be able to rely on in the event of a breach. That would be a very disruptive situation, and you want to have a backstop for that type of chaos. And there's a couple ways you can bring this up. If you're onboarding a new client, you could add it as an item in your intake form to open up the conversation about cyber insurance. Do you have it? Has it been looked at in a while? And if they don't, do they have an cyber insurance broker that could help them purchase one, and all of that. So, and if you're talking to existing clients about it, but you haven't before, maybe you could add it as a point in your annual security review, and just once a year, just bring it up and see if they have a policy, and if they've renewed it, and just it'd be good for you to be in the loop. And I have one bonus must know, and that is don't overlook tech E&O. This is so important because it's important to know that cyber insurance doesn't cover all types of claims in the tech space. And for an MSP particularly, um, there's something called malpractice, and that we know that from the medical space, of course. But you also have tech E&O, which means technical errors and omissions, and that is there to help an MSP owner operator protect themselves in the event of being accused of something. There may be no wrongdoing, but a person could still take an MSP to court and accuse them of malpractice or negligence or something like that. And obviously there has to be some legal defense costs there, and that's why I recommend getting tech E&O as well. You could actually have a tech E&O policy and add cyber, or you could have a cyber policy and add tech E&O. But it's really important. It's almost like the twin brother cyber. Don't overlook it. Make sure you have something in place if you're an MSP, and just think about it. Just like a doctor or a surgeon would. It's just part of doing business, and just really take a good look. All right, so we have some Q&A, I think.
Yeah, I think one question that I have is I know that we were talking a little bit before the show about, sometimes, we don't know exactly how many MSPs have insurance, how many don't, but sometimes I would think to me smaller MSPs or MSPs that have just gotten started, maybe they're in a Phoenix group or they're just getting started with their MSP and they're thinking, "Oh, this is another expense. Do I want to do it?" Like,
Right.
why should a smaller MSP get cyber insurance?
So I would say there's two types of cyber insurance. There's standalone, and there's something called endorsement. Standalone would be a policy that is a separate policy to your general liability. Um, and if people want to save money, it's a good idea to at least have the endorsement, which is basically like an add-on. Maybe your company that you have the general liability policy with, maybe they might have a cyber add-on, which is called an endorsement. Just add that in because it's going to be so affordable. This is a small MSP, right? We're talking about you're starting out, you're looking at expenses very closely, and just add that endorsement, and you're going to save a lot of money, but you're going to have something in place. Now that endorsement probably will have a lot of exclusions, and you just got to be mindful that as you grow, as your revenue grows, you want to keep looking at that and see if you might need to turn it into a standalone policy, which are more expensive, but these would be the all-inclusive cyber insurance policies that you really want to have as an MSP.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Jaime, I got some questions about like, should you require your end clients to have their own cyber liability policies? Because I think there's an expectation on their part that if they have a breach or a failure, that you as their provider are going to provide the insurance or the coverage to fix their stuff. And can you just talk a little bit about like what's coverage for them as the MSP, and what should they expect their clients to have on their own?
Yeah, so I mean, in a perfect world, you would have all your clients have cyber insurance, but I understand there's situations when your client maybe is resistant to the idea, and just just be aware that this is all about risk management, really, at the end of the day. And as a business owner, you just have to maybe take some time and think about your risk, and think if it's worth having to deal with a breach during New Year's Eve. There are times and moments where it could be so inconvenient to have a client go through a breach, and I just look at it that way. It's going to be a backstop to something major, and it really is a small investment in terms of time to discuss it with your clients. One thing you could do is obviously talk to your lawyer and see in what way you can if a client definitely doesn't want to look at it, doesn't care, doesn't see the need. Talk to your lawyer and see if there's a way you could notify them or create some sort of waiver that will document that you spoke about this. But of course, talk to your lawyer and see what is the best approach.
So I didn't really know if I got a clear answer. Like, I'm an MSP and I have cyber
Yeah.
liability. Is that enough? Like, if my end clients have a ransom attack, is my insurance going to cover them? Like, how does that work?
So it depends. If the investigation leads the attack as coming through the MSP, that could be a claim of negligence, and it would be. So you're saying a client suffers a breach. What is your exposure? That's the
Right,
question, right?
right.
So it would
Because
it would
they're going to go
probably
after
be
deep pockets. If you have cyber liability insurance,
100%.
they're gonna sue you. But is like that you're not paying your insurance company to cover their risk. So like, how does that work?
Yeah, it's very fuzzy, and then there's a lot of gray area between the tech E&O and the cyber. But the way to really get it all covered is to have both. But let's make a scenario. So you are obviously an MSP is a force multiplier, and an attacker would much rather penetrate an MSP than a standalone business, because you're talking a lot of privilege there. So if if a, if a if an MSP somehow is breached and that turns into a ransomware attack for a client, uh, your third party liability insurance could kick in. So that would definitely be. That's why I recommend having both, because there could be. You don't want to be in a situation where, oh, this is technically E&O, or no, this is technically cyber. So there's a little bit of a gray area. It really depends on how it happens. Now, if you have nothing to do with it, let's assume the MSP absolutely did everything perfectly, but through some crack or some social engineering attack, the client was compromised and they were breached. Um, they might have some sort of argument in court that you didn't patch something, or that you didn't. I mean, there's just so many variables, and it's really hard to predict. And I think as an MSP, when you're not internal IT for the company, I mean, there's going to be some risk. So what you're doing with insurance at the end of the day is called risk transfer. So all you're doing is you're taking that risk off your shoulders, you're putting it onto the carrier. These are huge companies like banks, and they're going to be responsible for the burden. And your client will be able to afford the top incident response team. Just whatever their limits will allow. They can have the best of the best forensics and make sure that they get to the bottom of the breach.
I love that.
Right. We're getting near the end, Jaime. Is there anything you'd like to
Yeah.
say in closing, or any final thoughts you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. So as an MSP, and this presentation was directed to the MSP. As an MSP, your clients are trusting you to be their first line of defense. Cyber insurance just makes sure that you're not the last line of payment.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jaime, for
Should put
being on
that
the
on a bumper
show.
sticker.
Yeah, I know. It was like, oh, we got to get that printed up. We hope we see you again soon.
Thank you,
And
Nancy.
thank you so much for being on the show. Remember, everyone, we are live every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, and we're on demand always. So don't forget to subscribe and like us on our YouTube channel. Thank you. Bye.